Hi, this is Mr. West, and this is a Kuta worksheet tutorial on markup, discount, and tax. This is on a percentage unit most often found in 7th grade math. Let's go ahead and get started. So it says find the selling price of each item. What we're going to do here is it's either going to say, well, let's highlight some of them. It's going to say markup, it's going to say discount, and then it's also going to have some of these as tax. And what you have to do is you have to figure out not only what those discounts, what those markups and taxes are, but the final price of the item. Let me break down how we're going to do that, and I'm going to start with number 2. So first off, what is a markup? A markup is an increase in price. So if inflation happens or if an item becomes popular, whatever the circumstances are, the price is going to increase. Now, how do we handle this with money? So what we're going to do is, we're going to have a price of an item, and then we have a percentage that is going to either increase or decrease. In this case, it's a markup, so it's going to increase. And then we are going to add these two things together. So there's the price, there's the markup itself that we're going to add to it, and then that's going to equal the final price. So let's talk about how do we find this markup. So to find the markup, we're given a percent, and we have to multiply the percent by the price of the item. So how much is a 20% markup? We're going to take $3.95, and we are going to multiply that. I'm going to use X, normally use a dot, so I don't confuse it with the decimal point, and I'm going to multiply that by 0.20. Now, one thing that's important for this video and for this worksheet is you got to know how to convert between percentages to decimals. Okay, so the real short trick is just moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. Remember, from a percentage to decimal, it's got to get smaller. Another thing you can do is you can divide by 100 and you get the same thing. Okay, so 2 different ways to get the decimal form, but that is something that you're going to need to do. So we're going to multiply 3.95 times 0.2 or 0.20. Okay, so like I said, let me just put this into my original formula. So I have $3.95, that was my original price. It's going to increase by a small percentage, and then that's going to be equal to my final price, which I could call just like X, but let's make it like Y because I'm using X for multiplication. So let's call that Y. Okay. So probably the trickiest part and the most essential part of this is the multiplication of this. So let's go ahead and just show that real quick, 0.2. And I'm going to multiply these two numbers. You could use a calculator depending on your classroom situation. So I'm going to just show you how it would be longhand, because just in case you can always do it without a calculator. So they have 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And then I'm going to move the decimal place 1, 2, 3 times over, 1, 2, 3 times over, and it looks like my answer is 0.79. That's just my markup. So this is going to increase in price 79%. That's what this is telling me. So now I didn't need to do 395 plus 0.79, and that's going to be equal to my final price, Y. So let me go ahead and line up these decimals now and do this addition. And that's going to be 14, carry the 1. That's going to be 17, carry the 1. And that's going to be 4. 474 is going to be my final price, and that's my answer. Let me show you one more problem, and then I'm going to show you the shortcut to it. And I'm also going to grab a calculator. Give me about 3 seconds. And I'm back. Okay, I'm just going to use the calculator for speed's sake. But that was a markup problem. Let's go to a discount problem. So here we have concert tickets, $100, and there's a discount of 21%. This is going to be the most common real-world situation that we're going to see is a discount. So again, we're going to have $100. That's our original price. Original price. There we go. We're going to have our discount and then our final price. Now, the equation obviously changes. We're not going to add a discount this time, but we're going to subtract a discount. A discount lowers the price of the item. So I have $100 as my original. My discount is going to be $100. Same process times that percentage, but because it's a discount, you subtract, and then that's going to be my final price, Y. Okay, so in this case, I just need to multiply 100 times 0.21. Now, This one's actually an easier one. Anytime it's 100, it's just going to be essentially what the decimal is. So that's $21 is the discount. $100 is the original price, and I subtract that, and I get $79 for my final price. Now, you're probably looking at this and be like, I have to do 2 steps for each one of these? And the answer is no. I'm showing you the original kind of like the roadmap of how it's normally done, but there's an easier way to do that. And the reason why is because I want to show you something real quick. So here, what I'm doing is I'm taking 100% of the item cost, and I'm subtracting 21% of the item cost. How much is that? Well, 100% minus 21%, that gives me 79%. Do you see a relationship with that in my final answer? The answer is yes. So there is a shortcut to all of these problems, and it's to figure out what is the end percentage of the cost of the item. And the end percentage is just going to be whatever your discount or markup is, and you're either going to add that or subtract that percentage to the original price. The original percent is always going to be 100% of the original item, right? If you have your original cost, it's 100% of the cost, okay? If you were to just pay $100, well, you just paid 100% of the price. There was no discount, there was no markup, it's just what it was. But since we're discounting it, we subtract that 21% and we get 79%, and that's what we end up paying. So the shortcut is we take 100, we multiply it by 0.79, and that's going to give us our answer in one step instead of doing this addition or subtraction before. Okay, why is that useful? Well, with something like this markup of 20%, instead of multiplying like we did and then adding, we can just multiply and not worry about any additional subtraction or addition. Let me show you how that works in principle. So we have 395. Okay, now it's a markup. So what does that mean? It means 100% of the price plus 20% of the price. That equals 120% of the price. So just like before, when I multiplied by 0.79, because that was my final price, it was 79% of the original. This time it's 120%. So that means I'm going to multiply by 1. Let me go like this, 1.2. So now I'm multiplying by 1.2 or 1.20. I didn't put the 0 because it makes it a little bit more complicated to multiply. But 1.2 is the same thing as 120%. Sorry, I got a lot of mess here. So let me show you what that multiplication works out to be really fast. I do 5 times the 2, 0, 1. And then I get 18, 19, carry the 1, and then 6, 7. Okay? And then 0, 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 9 is 9, 3. 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 5 is 14. Carry the 1. 7 plus 1 plus 9 is 17. Carry the 1. And then 3 plus 1 is 4. I'm going to move the decimal place 1, 2, 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Oops, sorry about that. And I put my decimal, and 474, that matches my 474 right there. So that's another way to do this problem, is just multiplying the end percentage based on what you calculate. How is that helpful? Well, it's helpful because now I can just do all these problems in one step easily with a calculator. If I know I'm going to have a markup of 95%, that means I'm going to multiply by 1.95 because I'm adding this to my original 100%, and as a decimal, 195% is 1.95. I hope you can see, like, that's the part that's easy to do in your head, and now I can just take my calculator and do 99.5 times 1.95, and I get 194.025, okay, which I need to round to 194.03, and that's going to be my answer. So I do that super fast now, that I can just do that markup or discount in my head. So let's go do another one, a discount. Let's do this 5% discount. So if it's a 5% discount, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to do 100 minus that 5% discount. This is going to be 95% of the original price. So I do 22.99 times 0.95. And that's going to be my problem. So I just, on my calculator or by longhand, however you want to do it, I multiply these two things together, and I get 21.8405. So you're going to have some rounding with, you're going to have rounding regardless. And this rounds to just 21.84. And that's going to be my final discounted price. Okay. Now, if I needed to know what the discount was, well, if I need to know the discount and how much it was, well, then you just got to do $22.99 times 0.05. Okay. It'd be important that you do this like we showed originally. But honestly, most of the problems are just going to be final price. Okay. Let's do another tax one real quick. So if it's a tax, we're going to increase the price. That's 0.03 that we'd have. That's the decimal form of the 0.3%. I'd have to add this to my original of 100%, which is just 1 as a decimal, 1.03. So I'm going to take 1.03. I'm going to multiply it by 49.95. And now I don't have to worry about, am I adding, am I subtracting the final? Far less mistakes can happen using this method. So I do 495 times 1.03. I'm just punching in my calculator and I get 51.4485. So this is going to round up to 51.45, and I'm done. Again, when you're dealing with prices, you're only going to go to the 100th place, which is the second decimal. So you're always going to be looking at the decimal place to the right of it and determining if you're rounding up or down or whatever it is, okay? And I think that's it. Most of these other ones are just like what we just did. Just make sure if you're discounting, you're subtracting that from 100, putting that in decimal form. If you're taxing or doing a markup, you're going to be adding to 100% and then changing that to decimal form. But that's all there is to it. I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure to leave a comment below if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you next time right here on Wes Explains Best.